Before we get started on painting the cockpit, there is one other sub-assembly that needs to be built, and that is the gun bay in the nose. You can see the instructions for it right here. This is the A2A version of the ME262, which has only 2 guns in the nose, as opposed to the A1A, which has 4. So, when displaying the kit with gun bay doors open, it's a little more interesting because there's not quite so much going on. You can see more detail because it's not quite so busy. So I actually prefer this kit in this variation. So so the gun bay isn't overly difficult. It builds up very much the same way as the cockpit does, starting with the bottom plate, which I will show you right here. That is the mounting plate, which you can also see the little holes in the bottom of it. Those are the shell ejection ports. So you can tell that Tamiya has really done their homework when it comes to detail, that they've actually included the little chutes that the shells eject from. In fact, actually, on the bottom side of the kit, you see these 2 little panels right here. These fit under the nose. Those are where the ejected shells, or where the spent shells, actually fall out of the body of the aircraft. So here is the gun bay dry fit. It's not glued together yet because I actually have to install the guns yet, and I can't do that until they're painted. So I won't be able to glue this together for a little while. So right now I just wanted to make sure that it would fit together and that the different parts, there's no interference between them. So it's actually a wise idea in this case because a lot of these little details end up different colors and you end up having to paint them different colors from the main base color. So if you can actually disassemble them and work your way around with your little paintbrush rather than having to work around the parts as they're together, it's one of those little details that will come to you in time. Like I was saying in the last episode about breaking it down, when to deviate, when to follow the instructions and when not to. So this is kind of the same idea. Knowing when to put something together and when not to, in order to make it easier on yourself. So that is one of the completed guns with the different chutes on either side, one of which is the ammo feeder and the other is the shell ejection chute. An important thing to remember, I almost made this mistake myself not 2 seconds ago, is never assume that 2 parts that look similar are identical. If you look on the bottom side, I don't know if you can quite make it out, but there's a little notch cut out on one side of the gun. They're on opposite sides on the 2 different guns. So one is supposed to go on one side, and the other is supposed to go on the other side. They're specifically molded to be placed that way. Now, I very nearly attached one of these chutes on the wrong side because I wasn't paying close enough attention. So, just a word of warning to always be mindful. Never assume. So there you can see the fully assembled but only dry fit gun bay. None of it is glued together yet. Save for the individual guns themselves. The reason for this, as I stated, is because there's so many different colors all going together in this one area. The guns themselves are gunmetal. The framework is all German gray. There's some flat black parts, in addition to whatever detailing and weathering you would want to do. Being this is a heavily used mechanical area of the aircraft, it's reasonable that it would see a lot of weathering. So it's easier to do that when it's all apart, so you can get into all the little crevices than once it's all together. Now, the inside of the fuselage is an interesting thing. It's got all this ribbing down the inside of it. Even though, even in areas that once it's assembled would never be visible. I'm not sure why that is. I think I heard a rumor once that they were considering releasing this with clear parts to show off the interior details, but I'm not sure if that ever came to fruition. Regardless, the area in here where the actual cockpit would attach, see, it gets attached to these bulkheads in front and behind that simply mount like so. This area in here is very much visible, both from underneath through the wheel wells and through the canopy glass. So that'll be a great area to do lots of nice detail work with a little bit of paint, and it can really look impressive. And I'm very much looking forward to that. But in the meantime, there are a few little odds and ends that do need to be attached to those interior sidewalls. So I might as well get onto those while we're working on the interior parts. So now that I've attached the little detail parts to the interior of the cockpit, I'm pretty much done all the assembly I can do for right now, and it's about time to get started on painting. Now the instructions call for Tamiya AS12 bare metal silver for most of the interior parts, the sidewalls, the gun bay, pretty much everything except for the interior of the cockpit itself, which I believe is supposed to be XF63 German gray. I don't have AS12. That's a rattle can color, and I do not have that particular one. So instead, I'm going to go with XF16 flat aluminum, which is pretty much my go-to silver for just about any job. But for right now, I think we've done about enough for this episode. So do stay tuned, and next time we'll be getting to the actual painting process. Thanks everyone out there for watching, and happy modeling.